Hi, we're live, Janet. I think so. It's impossible. It is literally impossible to tell. No one knows. I have no idea. Oh, yeah, no, we're live. We're doing it. We're doing it. Whoo! Oh, that was a real nail biter. Hi, everybody. Welcome to McElroy and McVarney together again for the first time. If you want to tweet about the show, you can use hashtag McVarney, McVarney. How are you, Janet? Yeah. Yes, full credit to Janet. Yeah, it was incredible. And she just kind of spun around in place and suddenly was in. I have no idea the physics of it. It was incredible. Oh, wait, we can't hear Janet. Hold on. Hold on. Keep talking, Janet. Yeah, turn yourself up a little bit. We're waiting. We're waiting. Hmm. I'm looking. I'm looking. Still nothing. Okay. Yeah. All right, everybody be cool for 2 seconds. I'm going to figure this out. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm going to play with this on the fly and see if I can figure this out. Okay, keep talking.
Test my audio to see if I am audible to the
I
community.
think we've got it.
Yes?
Yes, I think I
We
fixed
do?
it. I futzed
Okay.
around
Yeah,
and I
futzing?
think I fixed it.
You're being very mysterious.
Yeah, well,
And it's like you don't want trade secrets to how to be heard
no,
on
that's
YouTube.
not it. It's that sometimes I solve a thing by
Uh-huh.
clicking a bunch of things. And if someone was like, "How did you fix that?" I would be like,
Right.
"Oh, I don't. I do not know."
And I will not be able to do it again.
But I literally
ever.
did just start clicking drop down menus.
Great.
Yep, but here
Great.
we are.
But we're back.
Okay.
What did I say? I said a lot of great stuff. Oh, so many bon mots.
I know we were talking about
How do we get that
your
magic
quick
back?
change.
My quick change.
Oh, you go to that when you go to the hairdresser. You were saying.
Oh yeah, I was saying that because you said I spun around. I was so
Yes.
good that I spun around and I had changed without you even seeing me change. And so I was pointing out that also when I go to the hairdresser, they sit me down in the chair. Some montage music comes on. They spin me around, First hairstyle, I don't know. Second hairstyle, oh, this is crazy. Third hairstyle, like, and then fourth hairstyle, the same hairstyle I came in with, and then I leave. But that's how I get my hair cut.
Oh,
it's
I
not,
like that.
It's that fast. It's that fast.
You know, but you have the benefit you are not a spectacles wearer like myself. And
I could be. I wear contacts.
Well, see, I never remember to put in my contacts before I go to the hairdresser. And so it's always a surprise. You take your glasses off, you get everything cut, and it's like, man, I hope you did not screw up halfway through this, because I never know.
Yes. Well, I will say, I will meet you there and say, I take my contacts out before. I've never sounded more Midwestern, and I'm not from the Midwest. I take my contacts out when I'm getting my makeup and hair done on a show, because, you know, if you're wearing contacts and they start doing some fancy footwork to your eyes, that can make your eyes kind of dry and red. So I'll forego being able to see anything. Same thing. Like,
wait,
whatever.
For like the whole shoot?
No, just for like when I'm getting the stuff done. So once they're finished, then I go get those contacts in. But that's like kind of the first time I see what they've done.
Oh, okay.
And then there's no time to change anything. I just have to go.
Then you must be better at putting in contacts than I am. Because when I do it, it's like a whole production. I'm like reaching over like my face. And I'm doing...
You've got the Clockwork Orange clamps.
Yeah, I'm doing like a whole thing.
Yeah. I'm very comfortable putting in eye drops, contacts. I can put in eye drops just on the fly on Marty McFly's podcast.
Ooh.
On the fly with just, you know, like a drop will go in, nothing will smear, it won't like run down my face.
That's a superpower.
It's like, you know how Demi Moore in Ghost has one single tear? It's like, I can do that, but it's the input of the tear. I can put the perfect tear into my eye, not out.
How come in movies and TV people always cry from the middle of their eyeball? Nobody's ever done that, right? That's not how that works.
The middle of their eye. You can feel like you can see that closely, that the location is like
sometimes they do the close up and it's like it drops.
No, you're right.
Down
Mine is a straight shot, either back into my ears if I'm in any way tipped back, or right down to the nose, where it usually mixes with a little bit of snot.
And because of a botched surgery, mine comes out of my mouth. But that's it.
I guess I'm wondering what the surgery would have
broken leg
successful at. I see.
Yeah, that's how botched it was.
Cosmetically broken leg.
It was
like
they were going to break it and reset it, but it was going to be at a jaunty angle. Yeah.
God, I would have loved to see that. I'm so sorry it ended up being you cry out of your mouth.
Yeah, I know. It was weird. But to be fair, turns out they weren't a doctor. It was the Best Buy. So,
gosh.
I went in, I did it.
That's a big mistake.
Because at first they were like, do you want us to put a stereo in your car? And I said, I have a better idea.
Yes.
And they rolled with it. So, I mean, really, kind of on them.
So you didn't even go there with the idea that it was a doctor and that you wanted, or surgeon, I should say, and that you wanted your leg broken. You went there knowing it was a Best Buy. They suggested something to you. And for some reason, that triggered an idea for you of the medical ilk.
Well, I'd been trying to get a doctor to do it for a while, and they'd advised against it. And then they were like
the same doctor, or you were bopping from doc to doc?
Well, at first it was the same doctor.
Were you doc bopping?
And then I was doc bopping.
Okay.
I was doc bopping up and down the block. And then I went to Best Buy, and they offered to put a stereo in my car. And I thought, oh, you're kind of like car doctors. And then that's kind of how I got there.
Car doctors. Yeah. Classic.
Should we like introduce ourselves? I feel like we're just talking.
Sure. I guess I feel like anyone who stumbled on here probably already like has some sense of what they're doing here. But maybe they came on thinking they were going to see my brother and me.
Well, I'm willing to bet that half the audience knows who one of us is.
Okay.
Right? I think that's probably what we're looking at here.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's not true. You have a lot more of a fan base than I do. So I would say 5% know who I am and everyone else knows who you are.
That is not true.
But there's going to be some overlap even within that giant. What is this? Is the I don't know even which one is you and which one is me.
I think this is us together. Yeah.
This is definitely us together. Travis, my name is Janet Varney.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
We are friends.
I couldn't remember it, and we had known each other way too long for me to ask.
Oh, it's when it's been that long.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Okay.
We have been friends in the comedy world. We both have podcasts on the Max Fun Network.
Now, are we friends in the real world, or?
Like the comedy world and then also the real world.
Yeah.
I haven't been part of the real world for a very long time.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
What's going on out there?
Everybody okay?
Never better. Is that good?
But like, what do you do? What's your like deal?
Okay. My podcast on the JV Club is called Max Fun Network. See what I did there? I have a podcast called the JV Club. On a different podcast called Voyage to the Stars with some other funny folks. It was the voice of Korra on Nickelodeon's Legend of Korra, so a lot of people know what my voice sounds like, even if they don't know what my face looks like. And then I do a lot of on-camera stuff as well, like a show called You're the Worst that was on for 5 years, and then one called Stand Against Evil that was on for 3. In both cases, I played characters so far away from who I really am that it was a very fun, like, actory experience. Like,
but see, all of that is like legit stuff, Janet. I am on some dumb podcasts with my brothers and my dad. Like, I can only get family to work with me. It's my wife, my brothers, and my dad. Yeah. That's it. No one else wants to work with me.
False.
My name is Travis McElroy, and I am a podcaster, an actor, a comedian, an author, and a baker.
You could say auteur.
I'm an auteur. I'm a raconteur.
You're a raconteur.
I'm a teller of tales.
Yes. You are. That is true.
Yeah.
By the way, nice touch looking into the camera, because I felt like you were looking at me, and then I realized, that's what I should have been doing. I should have been looking at people.
What I try to do
my
is...
My monitor is a little higher than me, so it really looks like I'm looking at
it looks like you're about to ask me for money.
Please help me.
Yeah. Hello. I'm a little matchstick girl then.
I'm selling one pencil, but I have to sell it over and over.
Yeah, what happens when you sell that one?
I gotta ask for it back.
That's not a good business model.
It's like in. Did you see? That's like a very brief scene in Ford versus Ferrari, which I recently saw as part of my quarantining. And there is a scene in which they continue to sell the same car over and over. Like, they say it's a floor model, but I think really there's only one. The impression that you get is that, like, no one should drive off the lot with this car because there is actually only one. They're selling it as if it's readily available.
Oh, so they're lying.
They're definitely lying. Somebody can call me on this if someone knows that movie better than I do, which could be anyone who's seen it.
You're going to get those Ford and Ferrari heads just jumping down your throat.
Yeah.
Oh, huge fandom.
Huge cosplay. So we would be seeing so much cosplay if we were lucky enough to be at a con, which no one is.
No. So are you Team Ford or Team Ferrari?
I guess I'm too. Now, see, that's where it gets tricky, because it seems like on all counts, everyone was just a horrible misogynist.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was that era where it's like, you know, and also like OG Ford was a huge Nazi.
Oh.
Super Nazi sympathizer, like, you know, full on like anti-Semitism. Stop kicking the microphone. That's so unprofesh. And then Ferrari was like an old Italian guy, and I love Italy, but back in, you know, the middle of the 20th century, I'm not sure that old man in the middle of that century is going to be like feminism.
Chill. Yeah, probably not a good dude.
Yeah.
Things got political here, Janet. We were just talking about Ford versus Ferrari.
No. Ugh. You asked me which one I would side with, and I had to go super deep. I had to.
So do you want to talk about like the actual project thing that we're going to try to do? I mean, we could listen. Sure. Janet and I could shoot.
I know, this could go on for 5 hours.
We could shoot the poo, as the kids say.
I don't like them.
Why is that part bad? Why is it worse when I say that? Patton Oswalt, I think, has a great bit where he's like, the things that you will bleep and the things that you won't.
Yeah.
And he says like some horrible things that would never get bleeped on a show. It's great. He does it better than I would.
Poo.
Let's shoot the poo.
That's because when you say shoot the shit, somehow, first of all, we're all more used to that expression.
Yeah, right.
So we just accept that we hear what
and it's alliterative.
What we're supposed to hear.
Yeah.
Once you say poo, even just dropping that P off the end, it becomes runny immediately. Like immediately,
Shoot the poo.
that's runny. That's runny poo.
It's not great. Hey, listen, hashtag shoot the poo, hashtag McVarney.
And I want to make it clear, not shoot the poo with an H at the end. That's a
No,
totally different conversation.
That's a bear. It's a silly old bear.
And don't hurt him.
No.
Don't shoot the poo.
No, so what are we doing? What is the actual goal of this?
So I think I reached out to you because I very much enjoy seeing you, doing things with you, and I felt like it would be fun because you're a positive influence on my life.
Oh, thank you.
If we had just like a fun, playful conversation where we sort of talked about some of our current favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely a time where a lot of people are catching up on stuff they haven't seen before, or discovering new things in pop culture, or just in life. It doesn't have to be some form of media. And I wanted to hear about some of yours. I'm always looking for some good recommendations. So I wanted to hear, like, I'm prepared to take notes, not with this pencil, because this pencil has been sold for a bowl of gruel. So I'm going to move that over here.
That's a good deal.
Yeah. And
that little magic girl has good negotiation skills.
I know. Pencil for gruel. That sounds like a weird, like, Bat for Lashes cover band. So I'm ready to learn some stuff. If people are chatting and they can weigh in on things and give us suggestions.
Yeah.
We were going to follow a very basic, very stupid model.
It was your idea.
Oh, for sure. That's why I feel comfortable calling it stupid.
Okay.
Wherein we were going to come up with something, however we actually try to get into it, however manipulative we are at getting into it, we were going to try to give each other something for each letter of the word quarantine.
Yes.
So I'm looking for some Q recommendations. UAR, you know the rest. I probably don't have to read all the letters of the word quarantine.
You know how it's spelled. You definitely didn't have to look it up like I did. There's just way more vowels in there than you'd think.
Quarterteen.
It's weird. It's weird. There's weird stuff in there.
A lot of vowels in there. Yeah. So, and then when I sent that to you, basically, listen, let's be honest. Basically, I said, let's do something fun. We want to give a shout out to Max Fun.
Yes.
It's such a great network. It is. I've said it many times on my podcast, but if you whether you're going into the office or communicating with people from that network on email, they're just like the warmest, funniest. Like, every person behind the scenes at Max Fun should also have a podcast or two. They're just charming and like extemporaneously hilarious and sophisticated in their humor and their references, and I feel very lucky to be a part of that gang of people. So we're giving a big shout out to the members of Maximum Fun, but you can listen to podcasts whether or not you're a member, but it is listener supported. So this is not a fundraiser because we're not doing Max Fun Drive right now.
Yep.
But it was just a way of us kind of wanting to acknowledge that we love the people who work there. We love you guys for supporting. We love you even if you can't support right now, but you just want to hang and listen to podcasts you love and feel better and learn stuff and laugh. And so I said, let's come up with some reason to. So I says to you, look at that. That's some frizzy hair.
What's up, Janet?
Which, by the way, I will point out, shout out to Marimako, the Finnish clothing company that is also the dress that I was wearing in the picture that we took for the flyer. That's unintentional right there.
Okay, well,
that's a double Marimako reference in McElroy and McVarney.
Let's remake the moment. We'll recreate the moment where you said, hey, let's do this video.
Okay. Hey, guy.
Yeah?
Why don't we do a thing together? I'm talking through my smile. Why don't we do a thing together and we'll just figure out some dumb reason to do it and it'll sound planned, but really it's just an excuse.
Okay, I'll have my agent call you and work out like the deal and the plan and stuff.
Oh, it's funny how quickly you can tell this smile's becoming fake. Now I'm just gritting my teeth.
I'm pretty busy. I got a lot of jobs going on. I'm traveling a lot.
Okay. Well, just I guess keep me posted. I'll just wait near my computer for you to become available. This is really
okay. I think I'll be free. Now. I'll be free sometime in May. I think.
Oh, that's a long way from now.
Oh, I should clarify. 2020, cool. May 2020.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I'll see you in a couple years then.
Okay. Cool.
It's gonna be fun. I guess you are really busy.
Okay. I'll talk to you then.
Okay.
And not before.
Bye. Oh wow. Okay. Bye.
And it went exactly like that.
And that's how it was.
It was exactly like that.
And that's how it was. So kind of what happened was like everything. I just like, I don't know. What if we just did something like this, but not a dumb idea?
Yeah.
And then we just went with all the dumb ideas.
Then we did the dumb
We
ideas.
didn't, yeah, we didn't develop anything beyond the dumb ideas. We were like, no, that's enough for us. We're dumb.
So can I tell you my cue?
Yes.
I thought, because we had I asked you about this beforehand of like how esoteric, how outside the bun could I think? Because like outside of your bun could I think? Because normally I live in Janet's bun. Yes. And I couldn't think of like a thing to start with Q. And then I realized I did think of something, and it was quality children's programming. Because I have 2 children. One of them now 3.5, and a very old 3.5, very wise 3.5. Yeah. And when it comes to kids shows, there's some real stinkers out there. And so I have gently steered my daughter towards quality children's program, which makes this a lot easier to deal with. Like Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, slam dunk, highly recommend. Teaches a lot of like emotional maturity lessons that I wish I had when I was a kid. It's a spin-off of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Big fan of that one. I really enjoy Vampirina, little vampire girl. They move from Transylvania to Pennsylvania, and they run a scare B&B.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes it's humans staying there, and sometimes it's monsters staying there, and she has human best friends. The songs rule. It's great. Love it. Okay. But then there's shows like this one called Shimmer and Shine. Okay. And it's about 2 genies. That sounds like
a shampoo commercial. We can
Okay, now here's the thing. The whole... the design, I would say, is very reminiscent of Lisa Frank, to the point where I had looked up to see if
like is she
is this Lisa Frank
getting paid for this? Yeah.
And now, when you watch the first episode, the music slaps. It is very like it has a almost like Bollywood kind of energy to it. It's great.
Okay, I like that.
But here's the thing: it is the most formulaic show I have ever seen in my entire life, where every episode breaks down to the little girl has 2 best friends, Shimmer and Shine, 2 genies.
Okay.
And every day she gets 3 wishes.
From each of them, or they combine?
Combined. They're twin sisters.
Okay.
And then every episode, it breaks down like this. The guy that the little girl is friends with, she has a little boy friend. No, I think it's her boyfriend. I think there is definitely, she is constantly cleaning up his messes and cares deeply for him.
All right.
And so something will go wrong with him.
Yeah.
And then she'll make a wish, and the first genie will either like to literally interpret the wish or to generally interpret it and not help her. And then she'll make another wish, and the second genie will do the same. And then she will then accidentally say like, I wish this would all stop or whatever, and be like, oh no, my third wish. And every episode they have a conversation about it's okay to make mistakes, but we work together and fix them. Every episode. We've watched like 30 episodes of this show, and it is always the same lesson. And you think at some point she was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop saying the phrase I wish, and I'm going to be very specific when I do wish. And they also, it goes one step beyond that, Janet, because there are like 4 different musical numbers that repeat every episode with the same like animation sequence. So out of this 20-minute show, if it's even that, half of it is new footage. Okay. And it's like, okay, listen, I'm seeing right through you.
But here's the thing, is that this is like a Blue's Clues thing. Someone has an answer for you that is going to like legitimize all of the things that you're seeing that are bothering you about the show. They're going to be like, okay, first of all, I'm a child psychologist, and I can tell you that kids need the repetition of and they're not going to retain a lesson as important as not using the words I wish over and over again unless they hear it 20 to 30 times, possibly a day.
I have taught my daughter to be responsible when working with her genies. So if it can be taught, I have. No, here's the thing. Every episode of Daniel Tiger, I have seen no less than 10 times. Every episode on loop. We watch it a lot. And I love it. To this day, I will sometimes Teresa and I will be having some kind of discourse, and maybe it gets heated, and one of us will sing one of the Daniel Tiger, like in complete sincerity to each other. And it's like,
wonderful.
You're right. It rules. And that's the thing. I've never gotten sick of that show. 3 episodes in a row of Shimmer and Shine. I'm like, get this. I cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot with it. It's the only show that BB is like, I want to watch this. I'm like, no. We can watch anything. She loves SpongeBob, by the way, and that rules because, like, she and I, we're there together.
Yes.
And she is coming to really appreciate Bob's Burgers, which I love. Nice. She has favorite episodes, but Shimmer and Shine is out the window as far as I'm concerned.
It feels a little indulgent that there's 2 genies. That kind of feels like, ooh, that's excessive. In this economy, 2 genies? No.
And they also then weirdly enforce this rule of like, if someone sees us, we can't be your genies anymore. And it's like, who made that rule? How does that work? Why would that be a thing?
It's a fragile ecosystem.
It's
a super fragile ecosystem.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So quality children's programming. As I told you before we went live, I spent all of the time that I was going to spend working on this list, working on something else that I'm going to try to roll out for you in a little bit that involves music. But I'm going to go with off the cuff, a triple header.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with questioning Quentin Tarantino's qualities.
Ooh, okay.
Because I do feel that there are some very enjoyable works that gentleman has produced over the many years, but things have gotten a little bit complicated in the sort of world of discussing his, maybe the way that he expresses his viewpoints, or not even his own viewpoints, but like, is he careless about how he depicts women? Is he careless about those sorts of things? And so I do feel like there are certain groups of people who are sort of canceling him. And I feel like I feel like it's still important and interesting for us to have conversations about what he has made and what is tricky about it and what we wish were different. But I don't feel like we should just put it away in a box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like let's all still talk about it. Like, we can still talk about what makes Kill Bill great. And we could also talk about like why Hateful Eight felt so offensive on so many levels.
I haven't seen it. Like, that was one where, like, I can't remember what year it came out, but I want to say it's because, like, BB had either just been born or was alive or whatever. At that point, like, I had to become way more selective about movies I saw in the theater.
Yeah.
And as Marie Kondo would say, that one did not spark joy in me. So
it didn't spark joy in anyone who saw it either, I don't think. It was definitely a rough watch.
But that's the thing, right? Of, like, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, of just this thing of, like, there are, like, movies and I think movie directors and writers that were, like, of a time where, like, if you saw them then, you'd be like, this seems progressive, right? Because you were talking about it, right? And, like, oh, you have, like, this female protagonist who's such a badass, and, like, you never see that. And it's like, yeah, but now that we have seen more of that, now we look at it and, like, with that filter removed, it's like, but is it still, like, because you think about that, like, I've been going back and watching a lot of like older movies where at the time, like, the fact that they were even willing to take on this topic or whatever made them seem special.
Right.
But now that we've seen that topic taken on a lot more, you go back and you're like, oh, actually, I don't know that helped move the conversation forward in a way that it could have actually.
Interesting, yeah.
But also at the same time, contextually, did they even know what the conversation needed to be? Were they trying their best, you know?
Right. Yeah.
One of my things I always go back, I worked at a Shakespeare company for many years, and, like, not to compare Quentin Tarantino to William Shakespeare at all.
No, go ahead.
But they share a lot of similar qualities. No, but it's more of, like, if you look at, like, Shakespeare's work, right? He's a genius. And, like, clearly, he's a beautiful writer, but, like, for example, Taming the Shrew is hugely problematic.
Right. That's a big problem.
Merchant of Venice, hugely problematic.
Yeah.
Right? There's things in Othello that are, like, hugely problematic.
Right.
And so, like, it's this thing of, like, but there's enough time and distance between us and then to be like, well, he didn't know. Like, of the time, this was progress. And so it always makes me wonder, like, what's going to be the thing that in like 200 years, right, we discuss like a movie that came out in like 2020 where it's just
totally.
like, oh no, we really appreciated it. Like what you have to look past that because it was of a different time. Yeah, it's weird.
Totally. I always think that. I always think like, and I think I've said it before, but if the worst thing is that we look like monsters in 100 years because we look at things that were happening, I mean, and let's face it, we probably will, and in many ways maybe we do today, but that we can't live in a place of, you know, sort of judgment at the past, because that's how everyone probably has been from the, like, every moment in the past. They're like, well, at least we don't blah blah blah.
Right.
Like, you
well,
know,
that's the
we
thing.
would never have blah blah blah.
My
and
dude,
like,
I
we're
think
just
about that.
Hopefully we just keep going forward. Like if someone said like she was a horrible human being because we've advanced so far that, you know, instead of podcasting, she, you know, she in this context would have been doing XYZ to save lives. I'm ready to accept that judgment because it means that we have advanced compassionately even further as a race.
The thing,
you know what I mean?
This is something I think about all the time as a parent now, because like, you know, there's the everybody like seems to accept that like certain, like the majority of an older generation is like racist or sexist or whatever. It's just like, well, yeah, they're great grandpa, what do you expect, whatever, right? And so what's gonna be the thing that when BB is like 18 that she's like, Dad, you can't say that anymore? And I'm like, what? Can't say fill in the blank. And the thing is now, especially with the internet and the speed at which culture moves, that's not going to be like when I'm 75 I'm out of touch. It's like now, like now I am, there are things that I'm like, what are you talking, what is this? And like 100%. I think about that all the time of just like the at the speed at which, and it's good that culture is, I think, moving forward so fast, but it's like, it's really, and also when we're talking about like, you know, grandparents or whatever, right? Like my grandmother barely uses the internet, right? She uses, I think, Facebook. Yeah. And here I am, a dad, who is like, I'm well versed in the internet. I use it a lot, all the time. In 18 years, well, now, 14 and a half years when BB's 18, will I still be using the internet? And it's like, whoa, he just said that. Oh, boy. Yeah. And, you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, I know. Look at us squares. But then something weird happens where like everyone loves Friends. Like young people are watching Friends and like they're still getting something out of it, which is great. But that's definitely a show where I look at that show and I feel like it lives so hardcore in its own era that I think that in some ways that also gives me hope, because I'm like, oh, I'm not so out of it that, you know, if a 10-year-old, if that's their favorite show, which it is for some kids, then I'm not so disconnected from what's appealing, because that's really vintage. Right. That's some vintage stuff.
Isn't that weird? It is weird if like there are 18-year-olds in the world who are like, my favorite show is Friends. And I'm like, yeah, really?
For reals. And Seinfeld. Friends and Seinfeld. Like that's a real thing.
For
you want to move forward?
For you.
For me?
For you?
For me?
For my friends, I put down underrated movies.
Okay, great. And very general category.
I know. But specifically, the one that I have watched so many times in the last 2 months.
I'm getting out my pen. What if I haven't seen it?
Listen.
Why do I don't have to prove to people that
look what I have. It's Coco. It's the Disney Pixar film Coco.
I haven't watched it yet. Okay. What's wrong with me?
The music is amazing.
I know. I mean, I know all of this.
The visual style is incredible.
Committing.
But it is also like it gets me in a way that like there's something about it that is like, if you are an artist, if you like relationship with family, if you were ever like, I don't know that I belong in the field I'm doing, in the family I'm in, any of that stuff. Like, for me, it hits me a lot as like a dad, who like travels a lot performing and like leaves his family at home, all that stuff. But like, it is incredible. And like I said, the music is amazing. The voice acting is great. And BB loves it. So like, that's one of those things of like,
that's a good one.
There is nothing more exciting to me now than when BB's like, can we watch fill-in movie that I like too? And I'm like, we certainly can, dog. You got it. Because listen, don't get me wrong. I love Frozen. And I love Frozen 2, and I love Frozen Fever, and I love Olaf's Holiday Adventure, or whatever it's called. But I think Coco is, like, an amazing movie. And, like, that is something of, like, that, like, Tangled, for example, was, like, one that I saw a long time ago and never really stuck with me. But BB really liked it, so now I've seen it, like, 20 times. So I'm like, this is a well-made, well-written movie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, both of those. But I'm sure there's, like, movies for adults that are underrated, too. I have no idea what they are.
Let me think. I'm trying to think if there's a movie that I would call straight up underrated. Like, why didn't more people talk about that? And this is why I would have been good for me to prepare in advance.
For people recommending Gravity Falls in the chat, oh yeah, I love Gravity Falls, and
we think, was it underrated?
I mean underrated in that I think everyone should see it as one of the, like, the greatest kind of, like, I don't even want to say bait and switch, but, like, building to a story ever. But, like, BB also likes it.
I'm gonna say, kind of spinning off what you're saying, I'm gonna say international shows.
Okay.
You know, not national, but international shows that are available to watch, that sometimes you hear about, sometimes you don't, sometimes you stumble on. I've just finished a series called Midnight Sun that's on Hulu. It takes place in an sort of an upper, like a northern island region of Sweden. That it's like it's owned by Sweden, but there are Aboriginal people who still live there. There's the tension that exists between an imposing community that comes in and takes the sort of land and rights away. And there's the sort of ecological component to it. It's a French, Swedish, like some sort of companion, like they got together and made it together. So there's some nice French stuff going on. Every
nice
government
French stuff,
is still shameful. Don't worry, every government is still shameful. But the relationships between the relationship between the two leads, and then also a thing that happens that involves both of them and another person. I was like, it's just different enough. Like, they're still following some similar tropes that you sort of expect from, like, good suspenseful buddy cop kind of shows, but everything is just sort of set on its side enough that it felt really fresh and really interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
See, that's
international, so cool. International shows.
That's a cool answer, because I was going to say an underrated show is, like, Fringe, that I just started binging. It was the J.J. Abramson show after Lost.
I think you added an extra son to J.J. Abrams.
Oh, you're right.
Unless it's J.J. Abrams' son. Did J.J. Abrams' son make it?
Just J.J. Abrams. But J.J. Abrams. But it's just really good, and Joshua Jackson is incredible in it. And
I love those actors. I love the guy who plays the dad. I loved the
John Noble.
Anna Torv.
Yes.
Very sexy, very exciting to see her play a gay character on Manhunter.
Oh yeah. Isn't that Mindhunter?
Very much.
Okay. I only said it because you called her.
I'm thinking of Anna Torvesen. She was in that J.J. Abramson's show. Yeah. Mindhunter. But, like, also Manhunter is also about kind of the same exact FBI profiling, like the psychological profiling. But yeah, it is for sure Mindhunter.
I think it's one of my favorite things about it is in the show, like, there's good chemistry between Joshua Jackson and Anna Torv.
Agreed.
But there is such good chemistry between John Noble and Joshua Jackson. Yeah. It's just like, I just love watching them do scenes together.
You did not know how much you needed that chemistry until you saw it. And then you were like, has this been sorely lacking in other, like, male, like, familial kind of...
It's Joshua Jackson's ability to, like, intake everything and just let a lot of it pass through him, where he's just like, okay. Yeah, all right, Walter.
I'll tell you right now, that Joshua Jackson was someone I hadn't seen him in anything. And I was late coming to Fringe. I'm out in front of you, but not by much. Like, I watched Fringe a few years ago after it had long since ended. And I remember, like, I would see Joshua Jackson on, like, the cover of GQ with his, like, cute yet semi-pudgy face, which I appreciate. But just, like, his little baby boy kind of face, rather than, like, Clive Owen or whatever. I don't know. Those are really outdated references. But I I was like, no, I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh, I'm going soft for, Joshua Jackson. And then I watched Fringe and I was like, oh no, he's dreamy. He's
Yeah,
a total dreamboat. God damn it.
he's a dreamboat.
Yeah.
Okay, so for A, and this is gonna
Mm-hmm.
be, I think, a real crowd pleaser, but I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know what your stance on gaming is, capital G gaming.
I
But
was hoping that someone would cover gaming because I can bring out some real loves of iPad games, and that's pretty much
no,
it.
I'm talking about Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I don't play Animal Crossing because I don't have the capability, I
It
don't
is
think.
saved a
People
lot.
love it.
My brothers have a podcast. It's them and a guy named Chris Plant and a guy named Russ Frushtick. And they do a podcast called Besties, and it started as like when they worked at Polygon, like a best game of the year podcast, and now they do it like every week, and they just talk about like video games and stuff. But Justin described Animal Crossing. He was like, I think this might be like one of the most important games of our lifetime,
Oh no.
because here's the thing: it came out basically the first week of like the shelter in place orders,
Right.
and it was already a highly anticipated game. And in the game, you start like on this island that's completely like just open land, and you and like two other residents and like the guy who like runs the company, right? And you build your house and you decorate the island and you plant flowers and trees and you get other people to live there, and like you're digging up fossils and like all the, and you can go visit other people's islands, and all the residents are like these cute animals who like give you presents, and everything is so pleasant. And
Yeah.
like it online aspect, you can go visit your friends' islands and like bring
Yeah.
them gifts and like do all this stuff. And it was like, hey, nobody can leave their house, but here is a way to go visit your friend's house and kind of show
Yeah.
them what you've been doing and feel like you are doing something. Feel
Yeah.
like you're getting out of the house, even if it's just like in a game. And
Yeah.
like it was this outlet for creativity, and like it's one of those games that you could sit and do nothing in for hours, and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna move these flowers from here to
Uh-huh.
there.
Yeah.
And it was like the most like therapeutic, like for the first like 3 weeks it was out, anytime I wasn't
Yeah.
caring for my family, I was like playing this game because it was such a like outlet of energy of just like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to feel productive, see the literal fruits of your labor, and like feel like you're not just wasting time sitting around your house watching TV?
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
And what platform do you
It's
play
on
on?
Nintendo Switch. So that's the
Okay.
other thing, is like you can play it on the TV or you can play it in handheld form. So it's like you could take it with you, you can like move from room to room with it, and it like gives you this sense of purpose. And it's like one of, if not like the highest selling Switch games ever. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
everybody
It's
is
beloved.
playing this game. And it also is another one of those things of like gave us this injection of positivity, but also like cultural references,
Yeah.
like that we could like tweet about it and like watch live streams of it, and like people would get what you're talking about, and it was like a very connecting experience. And here's the thing, there have been other Animal Crossing games before this which I
Mm.
have never gotten into. I
Hmm.
tried and they were not my thing. And
Okay.
the planets aligned in such a way with this that I was like, this is all I want to do right now. And I've
Yeah.
probably put 200 hours into the game, if not
Okay.
more. And like on my island, right, I built a house for BB too. So like I set up like a playroom for her, and like Teresa has a house. And like my dad just came and visited the house, like my island. So I'm like,
Yeah.
dad's playing, and my
Oh
stepmom
man.
Carol's playing, and my whole family's playing. Anyways,
That's
Animal
great.
Crossing, love it.
That's great. Did I say something for A yet?
No
Oh, I don't know.
ass.
Okay. I'm gonna say the podcast called Accused.
Ooh,
It is a wonderful. I hesitate to say true crime podcast because I think if you're not a person who thinks of yourself as someone who's into true crime, you tend to dismiss a lot of like different things out of hand. So you're like, oh yeah, I don't like that stuff. But it's such a great podcast. And this last season, they are investigating this crazy case of this guy who worked at a uranium plant who mysteriously ended up in like a hot salt vat bath where it just dissolved his body. Now, I realize that as I'm describing it, it does sound like exactly what you'd expect from a true crime
Yeah,
podcast.
but
But it is very, very good. It's very well done. And there's a graphic novel component to it where there's an actual graphic novel. This is all done through the Cincinnati Enquirer. And
wait, through the Cincinnati Enquirer?
That's right.
That's my hometown paper.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's so good, and the way that they're reporting is so thoughtful and interesting, and the fact that they brought in this whole other form of media that you would not necessarily expect to see help to tell the story is just totally awesome. And so it's just a very, very cool, very interesting podcast.
Okay.
Accused.
I need to remember because I'm going to change my first in, because you just made me think of something else. But I'm going to save it.
Okay.
For R, I put down retro hero movies.
Okay.
Now, specifically, this is a very specific thing that I've been doing for this shelter in place, but I highly recommend. My friend Tybee and I have been doing movie nights where basically we have been watching. So, after 1989, in 1989, Tim Burton's Batman came out.
Yes.
And
I think it still holds up. What do you think?
I think so too. And after that, very clearly, there was this like push of like everybody was like, what is our Batman movie going to be?
Right.
So they wanted to make superhero movies, but it seems like A, they did not want to create new characters, and B, they did not want to pay licensing fees for like famous characters. And so what we got is movies like The Shadow, The Phantom, and The Rocketeer. And so like Tybee and I have been watching those movies, and I think she hadn't seen any of those is how we started. We also watched Cutthroat Island, which does not necessarily, it is bad. It is a bad movie, but it's very fun to watch and read all of the IMDb trivia about just how bad it was.
Okay.
Huge flop. But those three movies were like this attempt of like, we are going to make a Tim Burton Batman-esque movie, and like none of them I think got the credit that they deserve. Specifically, I think The Shadow and Rocketeer and Phantom. Phantom is not a bad movie. It's a fun, like, very Indiana Jones-esque movie. But, like, none of the three of them ever, like, were successful. But all of them...
I remember, Alec Baldwin was The Shadow, right?
Yes. And, like, here's the thing. All three of these fellows, handsome boys. You got your Billy Zane... Your Alec Baldwin, and the last dude's name is escaping me. The guy who plays the Rocketeer, but they are all like very classically handsome dreamboats, and the movies are good. They're fine, fun, weird.
Rocketeer is good. I remember the Rocketeer. I almost could make Rocketeer my R had you not said retro hero movies.
I know retro hero movies.
I'm thinking about Rocketeer.
Well, I wanted to make it the bigger scheme because a lot of them are, especially like. Rocketeer is available on Disney Plus, and I think either The Phantom or Shadow. I think one of them's like streaming on something. But like, if you haven't seen them, or if you have seen them and a friend hasn't, it's a fun. This is something that like I highly recommend because Tybee and I have really enjoyed doing it. It's like these movie nights where you basically like we set up our computers. So we're like kind of looking at each other's like sides of faces and then watch the movie and like turn and talk to each other like we were like sitting on a couch together watching the movie.
Right.
And like it's a level of engagement that like I highly recommend. It's a good time to show friends movies that you love that maybe they haven't seen yet and vice versa.
Great. That all makes sense. Maybe I should do I was going to say Raccoon Respect because listen, I don't care if you like raccoons or not. You got to respect them. They're just so smart and agile. A lot of people who live in communities where raccoons are pests, where they get into the garbage and stuff, I feel like they've lost the thread of how adorable and wonderful raccoons are.
You seem really passionate about this.
I get it. It's a very strong feeling. And I get that, but at the same time, God, they're good at what they do.
Yeah, I say the same about...
Take your hat off.
Rapossums.
Yeah,
everybody gives possums a hard time because they look a little weird. But possums are
pretty
great.
Weird.
But they're great.
They look pretty weird.
But they're wonderful animals.
Opossums.
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 I like your plaintive raccoon pitch. I think that works.
I just want people to really
Just
take this
respect
time to
them.
celebrate their respect for raccoons.
Do you want to hear a story about a raccoon?
Please, but it better be good. I don't want it to be like a
Never
thing.
mind.
Don't try to don't.
No, this is a good one.
Or make me hate it.
No.
Okay.
This is a much broader story, but the raccoon part really made me think of it. So when I was about 23 or 24, I was working at Best Buy. And
A lot of Best Buy shout outs.
well, I talk about, I still to this day, I've not worked at Best Buy in over a decade. I still have dreams that I'm late for work at Best Buy.
I have that with Pottery Barn, which is where
yeah?
I worked when I was like 20. Yeah.
So I'd been working at Best Buy for a while, like 2 years, and I was like burnt out on human beings and technology. So I decided I was going to go solo camping. And I'd been camping many times before with like family and friends, but I'd never gone by myself. And I was like, this is my chance to like really reconnect with my individual self. So I got out there, and I went to like a campground. I wasn't just like in the woods. I went to a campground. But I went out there, and on my way there, I bought like 24 packs of beer. And I was like, I'm just going to hang out. And basically from the place where I bought the beer to my campsite, like a park ranger just like followed me and then like walked, waited until I carried it all the way back to my campsite. And then he was like, you can't have that here. And I was like, I can't? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh. And he was actually really cool about it. And he was like, he was like, is there somewhere nearby, like somebody you can go and give it to? And I was like, no. And he was like, then you have to dump it out or I have to fine you. And I said, well, if I don't dump it out and I take the fine, can I keep it? And he was like, no. And I was like, then I'll dump it out. Then I guess I'll dump it out.
Thought that you had like figured out a way to hack it.
He made it an either or option.
Yeah.
Either you dump it out or I'm going to fine you. I was like, okay, cool. I'll take the fine. That's not how it works. So I dumped it all out. How it works. And like he watched me do it, and like the whole time he was like, ugh, as I dumped out like 48 beers, which took a long time.
Oh my god.
So long story short, I got real bored, and then eventually I'm sitting there and it starts to get darker, and I realized all I had for lighting is I'd brought flashlights and I had the campfire going, but I hadn't brought like a lantern. I hadn't brought anything that like cast a big thing of light. So I'm just like sitting there in the dark. And I started to get really freaked out. And really like, ooh, oh no. Suddenly I remembered like I have a super overactive imagination. I have all this stuff. And so like I just went in the tent and it's like now pitch black outside except for like my like 3 feet of light from the campfire and my flashlight. And I hear this like rustling outside. And I had put my garbage up on top, like in a garbage bag on top of the table, which now in retrospect is not nearly enough. No. And I opened the tent flap real quick and shined the flashlight. And there was a raccoon getting into the garbage.
Yeah.
And it looked at me, and I made myself real big with the flashlight. Went like, ah! And he just kept looking at me and went back to what he was doing. At which point, all I could think is like, I don't have another move. So I just zipped back up the tip. I was like, okay, cool. You called my bluff, raccoon.
You do you, he do he. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good, that's good for me to hear because that just reinforces the idea that they're going to do what they're going to do.
It's just one of those things.
Listen, you could have put it in a safe on the top of that table and he would have been like, if I listen very closely with my tiny, and then I use my tiny hands, like they can do it.
And they welcome the challenge.
They're either going to end our race or they may save it.
Yeah, working together.
Possible they're going to be like, hold on, I think I know this Fibonacci sequence that's going to disarm this nuclear weapon. Okay, great.
Well, the end of that story is then I got so nervous I couldn't sleep, so I called my brothers and made them come stay with me. And so
everyone? They all did?
Yeah.
That's satisfying.
So I stayed there 2 nights, and both nights I was like, well, you know, it'd be fun if you guys came and hung out with me.
Yeah.
And then I'd make them leave in the morning so I could have my solo time.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You got to have it both ways. You had it exactly how you wanted it. You know what that reminds me of?
What?
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do A because I realize also it's almost 7 and we're halfway through quarantine, and maybe in a couple minutes I'll just do my thing.
Okay.
Because maybe there will generate some things to talk about within that because it's very confusing what I've done. But I'm gonna say A stands for a parent trap.
Oh.
You got to pick which one. I choose the original with Haley
Oh
Mills.
yeah.
A Parent Trap, in this case, The Parent Trap, the original Parent Trap. Pick A Parent Trap. That's the Parent Trap that I pick. And everything you just said reminded me of how much I love that movie and how I do feel that movie holds up. I watched it fairly recently. There's just not a lot of like super questionable stuff that would be going on for it to be like offensive in any way. Unless I missed something, I'm sure someone will tell me. But yeah, it's very fun. It's a very fun movie.
Do you know with the second Parent Trap with the Lindsay
Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis?
It was
also not terrible.
No, that was
Oh no, that's Freaky Friday. I apologize.
This one, the Parent Trap had what's his face?
Well, wasn't it Lindsay Lohan?
It was
Dennis
Lindsay
Quaid.
Lohan.
Dennis Quaid. Yeah. Who was the mom?
It was many. Wait, was it what's her face? The Shakespearean actor.
Helen Mirren.
No, who maybe was like married to Kenneth Branagh. Anyways,
no, it's not Emma Thompson.
It's not Emma Thompson.
It's not my future best friend and person who will give my eulogy, Emma Thompson.
Okay. I like that you think she'll outlive you. She's
There's a good chance. I'm very clumsy.
She's a hard partier, though.
Very clumsy.
That's not true. But it was many, many years before I realized that Lindsay Lohan was not twins. Did not connect it. Did not. Yeah. I think I was a child in many ways the first time I saw that movie.
That's
not.
That's what they did their job.
Yeah, they did
it
well.
Very, very proud.
My A is ASMR.
Sure.
Which has gotten me not just through the last couple of months, but through the last couple of years. ASMR is one of my favorite things. Have you ever partaken? Do you know ASMR?
I know ASMR. I've never like done it in any kind of way. And like I've never like it's something that I've always known about, that I feel like I've sort of visited the realms of everything that's sort of around it, but it's not something that I've done.
For me, it is a very relaxing thing. It is all about finding your triggers, finding what is the thing that gives you the tingles. Yeah. My favorite is hand sound, like people just like rubbing their hands together in the mic. Love that. But
I mean, I guess I just need to dive in because I just told myself like you just don't have it. You're not.
Well, it's all about finding your triggers, you know.
Gotta find my triggers.
You gotta find your triggers, and you know, because sometimes like I'll watch a video and be like, "This is doing nothing for me," but then the next day I'll watch the same video and be like, "Oh, something about it. I'm in the mood for it now."
Interesting.
Also, one of my bigger triggers is like eating people crunching on crunchy foods, and that's not for everybody. I get that. That's not for everybody. But recently, I've been watching Limpia spiritual cleansing ASMR videos.
Yeah.
And I enjoy So I believe it's Ecuadorian, but there's a lot of like they take like bundles of like herbs and flour and like it's a lot of like patting the person with the bundle of stuff, and they're like also there's a lot of like they wear like kind of rattly bracelets as they move, and they like have like repetitive phrases that they say over and over again, and you know they're like cleansing the person's spirit or whatever. And like I don't think that they're doing that, don't get me wrong, but it is now like clicked into my list of like self-care bucket list of like that seems relaxing as hell. That I was just tweeting about this today, but like that like Reiki, which is like once again I don't think it does shit, but it seems relaxing and ASMR inducing, and like cosmic like head massages seem relaxing as hell.
Yeah. So I feel like I used to know this because I was very interested, especially when like people started talking about it and like reporters were reporting on it and stuff. Do people experience ASMR like not listening to media or watching media? Or you can experience it when you're I'm sitting right next to you and I'm crunching my cereal and you're like, keep going.
Not necessarily that. So a lot of the like sound triggers is like is about like that it's like right in my ears, binaural. I think that if I was like sitting there like eyes closed and someone was actually doing hand sounds like around my ears, we could maybe recreate it, but a lot of it is like shutting out other sound and just hearing that. But for me, a lot of the like real world triggers that I've experienced is like, for example, if I'm getting fitted for a suit, something about that personal attention will do it. or like just like walking around a store and someone like guiding me through something and saying like, now this you'll like, or the like specifically I remember, this is such a weird one,
Interesting.
but like being in camp and getting checked for like ticks when we came back in from like camping, when I went to camp, it was like, that
Ooh.
was a very like meticulous like attention thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
like that was something that, and at that point I was like 12, and like so for a long time I just thought that that was like something that everyone kind of felt when it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I got chills. And
Yeah.
then I was listening
'Cause I
to
do
the
definitely
podcast
get the
Baby
head. Yeah.
Geniuses,
Yeah.
and they were talking about ASMR, and I was like, that's what it is. And
Yes.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
had
Yeah.
no idea that it was like there was a specific name for it and not everyone experienced it.
Well, I think the first window I had into it was maybe like a radio lab, but the way they talked about
Yeah.
it was so it was so orgasmic that I was like, I definitely know what an orgasm feels like, and I definitely have had like many a
What
tingle
is
in
it?
my head.
I've heard a lot about them.
Okay, I'm gonna do some diagrams.
Okay.
This N is sort of the shape of no.
And it's like a sneeze, right?
It's like a very special body sneeze. I just have not, I mean, I will definitely like get the hairs in the back of my neck, and like I do feel like sometimes when I'm listening to stuff, like I will feel almost like my hair standing up, and it will be this kind of pleasant tingle, but it's not the story about it. I think on Radiolab was like she just stopped doing everything else, and she was just enjoying ASMR all the time.
Oh,
That's
no.
all she wanted
Yeah,
to do.
no.
And that was not like, I was like, I did nothing has, I mean, sure, masturbating to orgasm. Yeah, I could see someone being like, I'm
Sure.
never leaving the house again once they figure out what that feels like for the
Yeah.
first time. But the
I'm probably
ASMR
gonna
stuff
need
for
some special
me,
creams for the burns, but
some
sure.
lotions and potions, and
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of chafing. Yeah, exactly. So maybe I just need to like go back in. I almost feel like it's happening as I'm thinking about it. Is it one of those things that
Yeah.
you can
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
think about it and you're like, ooh, I'm thinking about it.
The
therefore it's
first time I remember specifically like from a video, and the thing that like clicked me back into actually like watching them was an unintentional one, and it was, I was researching for a Trends Like These bonus episode we did that was about like throwback trends.
Yeah.
And I watched this video of somebody like from the perspective of like looking down at a table, they were going through their Pog collection. And they would pick one up and like hold it right under the camera. And like as they were talking, they'd like tap it to
Tap
say
it.
like this right here. And I was like
Yeah.
melting. And I was like, I
How
could
about
go to
that?
sleep right now. Like, and I was like,
really interesting.
so then I started like following that up and was like, are there other videos like that? And like, there all are.
Okay, I have my homework to do. Trav, I feel like I should do this thing.
Yeah, you want to do yours now?
This is a slideshow. I'm getting nervous. I'm afraid that I'm going to do it wrong. I don't want to be distracted by this thing that I've made for myself
please,
for your enjoyment.
I'm dying to see it.
And I feel like you and I will hit the 7:30 mark before we even realize what's happened, and then I'll be like, "Oh no, the thing."
Yeah, no,
And
no.
that's-
Do your thing. Do your thing.
Okay, so this was something that came up for me today, knowing that I was going to see you and talk about this, and so I dropped everything that I was doing, which was probably very irresponsible, so that I could work on this song parody. It's very personal.
Okay.
There's a lot of references to my own experience during this quarantine that will probably not make sense to many people, but maybe it will. But my significant other, who certainly knows what all of these references are, knew that I was working on this, and he was like, "Let me make you a slideshow. Maybe that will help people like catch what you're doing." So I'm gonna do this share screen, right? Can I do that?
Yes.
And
I'm going to watch. I have it up on this other monitor, so I can see.
I would love for it to give me the chance to, like, I definitely don't know why it no longer gives me the option of what we were doing before, which was like just straight up Safari. So what's that about?
Oh, when you share screen, it should give you the option of like which window you're going to use.
Yeah, I know. That's what's weird is that I just said share screen and it's okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. So if I share it, I'm scared.
Oh,
can everyone see this?
Yeah. Let's do it.
If it goes up into this.
Yeah.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
What does it look like to you?
It's Cora and there's a dragon.
Okay.
And...
Okay. Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
I'm very scared. Okay. Turf wars with Seychelles and BBC mysteries, young storytellers, JV club guests, histories, Thrilling adventure, ours yet to be seen. These are the ways I get through quarantine. Eye drops and Flonase and masks made of bra parts. Checking to see if my never used car starts. Peppermint gum, portable Listerine. Weirdly important in this quarantine. Iced tea and ivy and hummingbird feeders. Phoebe Judge crime writers, audiobook readers, Rusty Lake Games Domino magazine. These are the ways I get through quarantine. Kirsten Colton, Bergen Koppel, Sweet Felicia Day. Our Weird Voyage, Jeps, Kylie, and Devin Dorsey. See, this is if I were singing along, I would know what that's supposed to sound like. Keep my ennui at bay. Oh, foam rollers, CBD, Zoom in pajamas, repotting succulents, paintings of llamas, reading old diaries I wrote as a teen. These are the ways I get through quarantine. Dog walks with Brandon and Whitley and Jasper, falling asleep on my impulse by Casper. Wait, writing this song for the McElroy feed. Wait, has this already been parodied? Oh, fuck, I bet someone else beat me to it. I should have checked before choosing to do it. Suddenly I am awash in unease. This must be the most cliched of parodies. It's a classic. I'm an asshole spoofing its routine. Give me an award for the hackiest bit of this fucking quarantine. Okay.
I love that.
There's my song.
I love
for you,
that.
Travis McElroy.
I love that. Also, the Rusty Lake games rule.
Okay, thank you. See, this is why I wanted to get it out there, because I felt like maybe there would be something you would be like, wait, what the fuck was that you were talking about, that one thing? But then also just to sneak some in, because that's why I am sucking so hard at going through the quarantine letters, because I didn't plan those because I was so busy writing rhymes for a thing that was a million times. But I thought if I baked in acknowledging that it's been parodied a million times,
you get yourself off the hook.
I'd get my cred back.
So what's Felicia Day like in real life?
Great. Wait, you know.
No, I know her very well. I just want to know what you think about her. Dish. What's
the
hot goss?
She's got a very active mind, very busy brain. The two of us could like neuroses each other to death, but instead we support each other and we pull each other back off the ledge.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
No,
and she's a great improviser.
Rusty Lake rules.
Oh my god, so
I
great.
love a game. Have you ever played the like?
I want to be friends with them.
The like secret room, like the like locked box. Yes.
Yeah. The room stuff is amazing.
That like very noir-y games is like right up my alley. Can I give you my in that I wanted to remember? So this is a new podcast recommendation. Is what I changed it to. It was newborn because that has helped me sleep because I'm so tired all the time. But new podcast recommendation. Have you ever listened to Decoder Ring?
No.
You would really
heard
like
of.
It. Yeah, it's from Slate, and basically each episode they take kind of a pop culture thing and like really deep dive as to like why this is a thing. So like one of the best episodes I've ever heard is called Sad Jennifer Aniston, where they like basically explore why did Jennifer Aniston become like the cover girl of tabloids. And it's all about how like,
I do want to know the answer to that.
Yeah, right. It's fascinating.
Because you feel like some people, they want to be in the tabloids, so they actively make sure they're in the tabloids, and you don't necessarily get that feeling about her. So I'm very curious.
It's very fast. And like there's an episode that's all about like oh, what's another good? There's one that's like all about Bart Simpson and like why
Okay.
that like shifted from like that's too edgy to like completely mainstream. There's an episode they just did an episode about Rebecca Black and the Friday It's Friday song.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
really
sure.
really cool.
I haven't thought about that in a minute.
I know,
Great.
right? They do a
Yeah.
whole episode about like Baby Shark and why
Oh,
Baby
this is
Shark is
great.
popular.
Okay. Decoder Ring.
Dakota
Fantastic.
Ring. It's really, really good. Also, another one I think you'd like is called Heavyweight.
Oh, I love Heavyweight.
Yeah, I need
Jonathan
like
Goldstein. Oh, I love him so much.
it's a great
Yeah.
those at home. Jonathan Goldstein works with people to like address some kind of issue that they've kind of been holding on to for years. Like
Yes.
maybe this person hasn't talked to their dad about this thing or whatever. But it's also hilarious.
It's so funny. It belongs. Like, can I say this? And I all due respect, I don't even know what network it's on. And I apologize. It belongs on Max Fun. It is
Yeah.
the most Max Fun podcast that's not on Max Fun. It is because it's so smart, it's so funny, and it's so sarcastic. And then you're like, oh wait, why am I crying?
Yeah, right.
Like, wait, this is so smart and smarmy in tiny moments.
And-
And yet he's touched my heart so deeply.
Yeah.
And he's clearly like such a softie. The one with Rob Corddry, when I found out that he and Rob were friends, I was
Oh,
like,
that one,
aha,
that was my
this makes
favorite
sense,
episode.
'cause Rob is a wonderful human being as well, who also does a lot of like, he seems very sarcastic, or he plays these characters that are kind of dicks. And then it turns out he's just the warmest, like most mushy hearted person. And
Yeah.
so that really clicked in for me. I was like, yes, this totally makes sense on a
is-
whole new level.
That's the episode I recommend people to start with. It's like the
it's
Rob
so
Porter
good.
because it also is so interesting.
It's so,
good.
interesting. And then also the one with the whole Moby thing. That's very
Oh,
Dakota
yes.
Ring,
That's
right?
a good
The
one,
episode
too.
of like,
Ooh.
how did Moby get that album? Oh,
So good.
So good. Okay, 100% Heavyweight. Big fan. Big fan.
So my tea is lame. It's therapy. I've been doing
I mean, is that
teletherapy rules. It's great.
Yeah, I know. I do too. I do too.
Before now, I was doing like once a month, and now I'm doing like every 2 weeks, and it
Yeah.
is game changer.
Yeah.
Because especially like as I said, I have a 4-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. So on top of that, like I'm already dealing with like the frustration of like because I started going to therapy when baby was born because it was like I feel like a monster because I'm frustrated at like my beautiful perfect angel baby. Why am I so? And my therapist won my heart when I was like I'm frustrated by this, and she's like, yeah, it's frustrating. And I was like,
I know.
and like now I'm doing teletherapy like twice, like every 2 weeks, and yeah.
I completely agree. I feel like having a professional tell you that you're not a horrible human being for having normal human
Yeah.
feelings and being reminded, like, I cannot tell you how often I know exactly what I want to hear from my therapist, which is, I just want you to tell me this is something a lot of people feel.
Right?
Like, honestly, I can get through it just knowing how boring and ordinary this fear I have is, or these sorrows that I have, this like conflict I'm feeling. If you tell me this is part of the human experience and you're tired of hearing about stuff like this because everyone feels it, I won't even bother you beyond that. I'll just
Yeah.
be like, oh, good. Okay.
Thank God.
Okay. Like, let me just not hate myself or not worry that I'm a freak.
I will just before either whether it's an in-person session or now conference session, before everyone starts, like 5 minutes before, I will think it's so dumb that I'm about to go in there because like there's really nothing wrong and I think everything's fine, and then I'll start talking. I'm like, oh no, that everything was not fine. I was carrying a lot of stuff with me. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I'll double down and I'll say something even dorkier, which is physical therapy. I'll say my
Ooh.
T is therapy, physical, because I have like a neck thing from when I flipped off my bike, and I had been doing telehealth with a physical therapist who was like, gives me all these like exercises that are going to build up and I always thought physical therapy was, I guess I sort of thought like, oh, okay, so it's a thing you do to try to mitigate the pain. Like you go to physical therapy
Yeah.
and you sort of grimace through exercises that are supposed to somehow mitigate the pain. And it took me such a long time to like understand, no, it's about a lot more than that. A lot of it is just about building up parts of your body that need to support like parts of your spine or your shoulders, your elbows or your knees that you haven't built those up for whatever reason, even if you exercise in some certain way. And that even just doing stuff like that builds up muscle that then protects whatever nerve is being pinched. Like it's all very It's all very real.
Yeah.
And for those of us who, if you feel like, same with regular therapy, if you feel like you have a thing that you can't seem to do anything about, or you feel like stuck in some way, anything like that that makes you feel like at least I'm taking action, I can dine emotionally off of at least I'm doing something, whether it's even working or not, for a good while.
Yeah.
It's like momentum. I'm doing something.
Man, that for me, that momentum thing is like everything. It's everything. Like where I have a day, so like Sunday was both Mother's Day and Teresa's birthday. And so like I was like doing stuff. I was like, I will like take lead on taking care of the kids, and like I made breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I actually didn't make dinner. We ordered Chinese food because that's what she wanted. But
okay,
like,
you're a liar. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I served it, but it was like this kind of thing where I was like doing stuff all day. And even though I did not on paper do anything productive, like there wasn't like, I finished project. It was like, oh, yes, this day felt good because I had purpose all day.
Can I say, I love a chore.
Yeah, right?
If it's a chore I like. I've now isolated with Brandon what I consider, because there are things that are very much like, you would think if I liked doing this around the house, why wouldn't I like doing this? But now I've realized that I identify a chore. Like I hear the word chore and I'm like, that's fun.
Yeah.
Not true for most people. Chore, fun. Task. That feels like, task.
You know what?
It should be the other way around, probably.
It's so funny that you say that. Because for me, it's project versus chore. Say like this is a project,
that's
and
more
I'm like,
reasonable.
Oh, awesome!
That's so much more sane than me saying I like the word chore.
Like for example, I'm really looking forward to having. I love a chortle. I love the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna get to clean out my garage. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. But one of the problems is now with 2 kids is like Teresa and I, our parenting style is like divide and conquer. And so, like, I spend a lot of time with BB while she's, like, breastfeeding and, like, caring for Dot, and we'll trade and stuff. Not the breastfeeding part. That's mostly her.
I think people knew that, but...
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
But, like, at the beginning of this whole thing, like, there'll be times where I'd be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this time, and I'm going to, like, reorganize my closet. And so I get to the point where I've pulled everything out of it, and then Teresa will be like, hey, you've been gone for, like, an hour? Could you please come back? I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, of course. Yeah. So, like, I had to let go of, like, projects right now, because there's not time for that. But I will say... Now I want to go to the I, because this ties into it.
Please.
In-home baking, which is where a lot of baking that any individual would do, I guess. But I really want to.
If you have some sort of stone fire pizza oven in your backyard, you gotta make sure people understand.
I guess as opposed to professional baking, but anyway, so I'm just talking about it because I've been doing a lot of baking.
You have been.
I'm right now proving my 7th and 8th sourdough loaf in 2 weeks.
You make me sick.
Okay.
You people with your yeast and your beautiful breads. I just haven't had time to do those things. And it makes me, and I need to make time. You? Clearly I made time to write a stupid song. So
here's the thing about it. I love it for the same reason, speaking of chores, I love laundry. I love doing laundry.
I also
because
love doing
there's upfront work and then waiting while you do something else. And then some more work and then waiting.
Yes.
And so with making sourdough bread, you start your sourdough starter, which is just combining water and flour. And then you wait. And like every day you do about 5 minutes of work feeding it. And then you wait. And after a week, you mix the starter, water, flour, and salt together. You mix it up and then you wait while it like auto leases or whatever the word is. And then you mix it into a bowl and then you wait. And you have like 6 to 12 hours where you don't do anything. And then you put it in the oven. So like it is actually not a lot of work.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it seems like a lot of work because it would take all day. But you're only really doing about 45 minutes of stuff. Right. And it is productive because when it's, 1, it makes your house smell great. 2, when it's done, you both have something pretty to look at and you can consume it.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the reasons I love baking. And up till now, I've primarily been like a desserts person. Bake a lot of cakes and cookies and that kind of thing. I've never really been a like savory baker.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Teresa and I, we love sourdough. And a friend of mine told me that sourdough is one of like the easiest breads to digest for people who have like digestion issues.
Yeah, it is. for sure.
And so,
okay, I got to get into that.
Well, so at first it was like, well, all the stores are sold out of sourdough. And also, then when they weren't, I was like, well, there's only a little and I feel bad taking it. I will just make my own.
Yeah.
And like, the truth is, we can go through one of those loaves a day. Like, we will just like rip pieces off of it. And BB loves it. And it also now is like one of the reasons I've been doing 8 loaves in 2 weeks is I'm working on like perfecting. I just saw this in the comments and I want to talk about this real quick. Somebody said wouldn't call ADHD a gift. And I do. And I didn't used to think about it this way. And the reason I think about it this way is, one, it has made me who I am. And that's a person I really, really like. But two, the creativity. There was a time, medication is great. And if you take brain medication for something, more power to you. I take Lexapro for my brain. Love it. Love it. But I stopped taking my ADHD medication when I became an adult. And one of the reasons is I was already taking a very low dosage, like the lowest dosage you could take. But I found that it got in the way of my creativity. And my job is fully creative.
Right.
And I've worked my whole life to build up different like coping mechanisms, and like I write everything down, and like I keep full schedules, and like I will say the thing I'm doing out loud, like I'm putting these down here. I need to remember to do this thing, right? All of that. And that's frustrating. But at the same time, it has made my brain work in such a way that if I was not me, I would be envious of.
Yeah.
And so like I do think that there are things about my ADHD. It makes me a quick thinker. It makes me funny. I think it makes me a good improver. All of those things, because I can think faster than I talk. And like, so I can like just keep going without second guessing myself. Anyways, sorry. I just saw that in the comments, and I just really quick, because it's something I'm very passionate about, is for a long time, I thought of my ADHD as like a curse, something that I wish I could remove, like almost like a parasite that was attached to my brain. And it's only in like the last like 5 years that I was like, oh, no. That's just a part of me. Like how for some people, like, you know, they might be musically inclined, or they might, you know, be a little taller or whatever. I have ADHD. It's just another facet, like having blonde hair or like green eyes or whatever. It's just a part of that makes me me, and not a different thing removed from myself. Anyways. So
no. I feel the exact same way. I also feel like people should, if people haven't listened to your episode of my podcast, the JV Club, they should, because that's like just another sort of like a spoke off of this wheel of the conversation that we're having, especially what you just talked about. But I feel the same way about my own attention deficit issues growing up, and also like anxiety and depression. Like I don't, you know, it's hard to, you don't necessarily want to say like, hey, it's a gift, but I sure agree that I can't tease apart any of the stuff that makes me in a way that I could get rid of any of that and still be myself. And I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I've liked about getting older.
A big part of like my positivity and stuff comes from depression, where it was like what I started doing is when I woke up in the morning or like started to feel bad, I would then like go to Twitter or something and project out the positivity I wish I felt, or the positivity I wanted to receive. Yeah. Because rather than asking somebody like say something nice to me or do something nice, saying something nice to someone else and seeing how that landed with them did more for me than anything anyone else could say to me. And so my depression has helped me be more positive for others, which has helped me deal with my own depression. That's not it. I didn't have that written down in the letters of quarantine anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just
But here's what, because I didn't do my eye yet. Side note, we are growing avocados, and that takes a really long time. Not dissimilar to bread. There was a lot of prep into putting the little avocados in a place where they can sprout. It takes forever, but we eat a preposterous amount of guacamole that we make at home. Very simple ingredients, and so I will say that is sort of that's going to be the fresh bread version of my current life. That doesn't mean that I don't want to get into some hardcore yeasting.
Oh, you got to.
But
you can name your starter. Mine is named Joshua, and so then when
Joshua Jackson.
Well, he's named after Joshua Norton, who was from San Francisco and declared himself to be the Emperor of the United States. And, you know, sourdough, it's very San Francisco, so I named it after him.
Very smart. So I'm going to say the I, for me, as we near the end here, I is for identity.
Oh, I like that.
Because that's what we just talked about, is becoming comfortable with your identity, letting it letting it flow, letting it be a little nebulous sometimes. Don't feel like you have to tell a story to yourself about who you are, or what you like or what you don't like, or what you're capable of, what you're not capable of. And then also the willingness to kind of like lean into some of the stuff that was really hard when you were younger that maybe you figure out a way it can serve you now.
Very much so.
Identity.
I got a quick one for N.
Great.
Napping. It rules.
Yeah. Well,
listen, a lot of y'all, this is very much like Bane. A lot of you all have adapted to working from home. I was born into it. So here's the thing about working from home. Your schedule is a little bit more flexible. If you got that time in there, give yourself permission to nap. Maybe say, you know what, I was going to work till 4 or 5, but I'm going to nap from 3 to 4, and I'll finish my work up until 6. I'm going to buy myself that extra hour to nap. Do it. It rules, and it's so important for mental well-being. Especially as someone with 2 young children. If I get the chance to sleep, if they are sleeping, I take it. I take that chance. Highly recommend.
Great. I'll say I do a version of that, which is a meditation app, because I still need someone to kind of talk me through. Jana. But like I can't nap because my brain won't shut off.
Oh yeah.
So the closest thing to me for napping is like having someone telling me in my ears, like, don't think.
Can I tell you my secret?
Can
I tell you my secret to a good nap? And I know we're running out of time, but when I started meditating, the dude who was like teaching class, like I had a one-on-one with him, and he was like, what do you think is like the biggest like hurdle for you to like meditate? And I said, like, I can't get my brain to stop thinking. Yeah. And he was like, yes, trans rights. And he was like, well, here's the thing. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your brain thinks. It's what it does. You cannot expect it to stop doing it. You have to just kind of acknowledge it and then let it go. And so what I do now when I'm trying to fall asleep, because I used to have wicked bad insomnia, and having 2 children will just wear you out, help you go right to sleep. But now I will like say, like, I'm going to let my brain think as much as it wants to for like the next 5 minutes. And then I roll over to the other side and go to sleep.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I think you're further evolved into the meditation process, but I will say that is a key thing. Even if you are not a person who thinks you want meditation or ready for it, just the permission to give yourself that you are not your brain is massive. Like the second you can really separate that and go, what does my brain want? Because I don't think it's what I want. Yeah. Is like so empowering. It's not in charge. It's not in charge. And for me, not in charge. Your brain is not in charge.
Oh, I like that.
You're in charge.
That is, and that extends to a bigger thing too, because one of the things that's been hardest for me to kind of let go of for the last 2 months is that I'm not in charge. Is like a big part of like dealing with my own anxiety is like not trying to control everything, but saying like, here are the things I can control. And like, I can make plans and I can make schedules for these things. And a lot of that is just out the window. Right. And so it's like letting go and saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe today you're not able to do it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess that's where we're at. I guess that's what's happening.
Yep. Yes. 100%.
My last one, my E, engaging with friends.
Okay.
Much like this. It's like,
yes, indeed.
Right at the beginning of this whole like shelter in place, stay at home quarantine stuff, I started using Marco Polo. Do you know that app? Oh yeah, we've talked. We have? No, we haven't.
Okay.
But it's like instead of sending text messages, it sends like video messages, and you can like it like keeps track of the video, so you can go back and like see everyone's video, and you can do like multiple people on the same thread, and so like. I took that and now it's like, okay, well, here's like 30 people that like I never like think to text or think to call or email or whatever, but I'm always so excited to see them when I get to see them. So I'm just going to send them a video where I'm like, hey, I miss you. And like has like I'm doing the stuff with like me and Tybee like watching movies together, and like, man, like for me and my brothers, we talk sometimes 2 or 3, 4 times a week, right? But before it was like we would talk and then we'd get off the phone and Teresa would be like, how are they? I'm like, oh, I don't know. We just recorded the show. And so now, like, I make sure to take time where we say, like, how are you? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I don't, as with everything else I did, I don't have a plan for an E, but I feel a lot of pressure to come up with something brilliant for the end. But that's not probably going to happen. I will say, you know what? This is just we're gonna get real. We're gonna just drill down into a little bit of music here. But I had not listened to Elbow for a really long time, and they just came out with a live album, and I was reminded.
I don't know Elbow.
It's a British band. They've been around for quite a while, but they're still churning out some pretty great music. And I had sort of checked out, like, because I was out of the phase of listening to them. It's one of those bands that I've started listening to more music again during this quarantine, during the safer at home, however you want to think of it. I mean, we all sort of like to go to the extreme I wanted to go to the extreme of quarantine because it's the sexiest word.
That
and the
Q in there? Ooh.
Yeah. And we're not going to do safer at home as a whole thing. But listening to more music, realizing that I needed to like sort of check in with that part of myself, because music is so important to me, and I can lose track of that when I'm listening to a million podcasts and audiobooks. And that is one of those bands that I needed. And so I would say for me, it happens to be Elbow, but like, what music for you, for everyone listening or watching, have you not checked in with for a while? Because you may be so surprised and pleased at how fresh the music sounds to you again.
Yeah.
How much you have the perspective of like, gosh, he's a great songwriter. Like his lyrics are so much about his kids and his parents, and like it's just thoughtful, like reflective, kind of wistful, happy, sad music, which is my favorite music. And for me, that was really, really great to rediscover. Like, I want to be healed by music, and I think I had taken a step back from that. So it was really nice to check in with that, and I encourage people to do that and think about it. Like, what have I not listened to in a while that I do know I love?
Especially when it's like music that's like, I associate this with this experience, or I should associate this with this time in my life.
Time travel, man. Time travel through music is like a real thing.
That's how I feel every time I listen to Mike Doty. He's like, I'll listen to Mike Doty and be like, I remember driving around in my older brother's like old ass Cutlass Sierra when it was like, listening to Haughty Melodic with like the windows down. And like, that's a thing of like, I will always think of that when I hear like that album and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree.
Time travel. Let yourself time travel a little bit, because things are weird, and it's good to check in with yourself and the fact that it hasn't always been how it is now, and that it's not going to be like this forever. And that means good stuff and bad stuff will come and go. But that emotional core, I think, when you're sort of collecting all those memories and feelings, you can still access no matter what's going on.
I have one more E for you, and that's ending. We're wrapping up. It's time to wrap up.
It's the end of our hang. I've had such a fun time. And listen, I feel like I know how you are. I feel like we did a show together, but we are very present to each other. And I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. We talked about it at the beginning, but just to reiterate, like, this all came about because it was Janet's idea, and we wanted to do something. Like, if you're a Max Fun supporter, awesome. This is a thing, like, thank you. And if you're not, maybe you will be soon. But mostly this came out of like a thank you to Max Fun listeners and to Max Fun supporters, and also, you know, chance for us to like hang out and create some content together, which is really nice. And we sure hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Travis McElroy, if that's like a thing that you want to do.
You could do that with me as well at Janet Varney. I got a lot of cute dog videos, if you're into that kind of business, on Instagram at the JV Club. Real cute dogs, spending a lot more time with my dogs.
Nice.
And it's really paying off.
Sick, bro.
So yeah, feel free. And yeah.
Okay, well, hey, Janet, let's wrap this up.
Travis.
Let's say bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye to you. Goodbye, everyone.